What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with BLU G50 Mega tips, tricks, and hidden features. Let's get started. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that with the BLU G50 Mega, there aren't necessarily a bunch of hidden features because this is a lower end phone, but there are definitely some cool things here that you will want to be aware of, especially if you are getting the phone or if you already own it. Now, starting off with the first one, and that is how to get a battery percentage to appear in the upper right corner. Now, by default, with the BLU G50 Mega, you just have the battery icon, but no actual percentage. Now, if you do pull down the shade, you will see the percentage right there, but ideally what we want is to see the percentage at all times. So what you're gonna do is pull down the shade, go to the gear right here, which is the settings. You're gonna go up to search, you're gonna type in battery, and you'll see right there battery percentage. So once you tap on that, you'll see show battery percentage in status bar, enable that, and now no matter where you go throughout the operating system, you will have the battery percentage in the upper right corner at all times. So I definitely think that's very helpful so that you know the exact percentage. Now, going back to that battery menu right here, you can see that there are some other options as well that you might want to be aware of. So the first one is the battery manager. So when you go here, you can enable or disable the battery manager, but essentially it detects when apps drain the battery. And when the battery manager detects that apps are draining battery, you'll have the option to restrict these apps. Restricted apps may not work properly and notifications may be delayed. So essentially, if you have a certain app on your phone that is just draining the majority of your battery, then this will let you know about it so that you know specifically which app is the problem. Because I know that sometimes it can be confusing because if you have a bunch of apps on your phone and you don't know which one is contributing to your battery draining very fast, then essentially you'd have to do a bunch of trial and error. Then from here, we also have power saving optimization. So we have some different options here. We have choose battery saver. So we have some battery saver options such as smart saving mode, power saving mode, and then ultra saving mode. So if you know that you have a long day ahead of you where you won't be anywhere near a place where you can charge your phone, or maybe you're going camping or something like that, then ultra saving mode probably is the ideal mode to put the phone in so you can get the maximum battery life out of it. We also have low power saver right here. So essentially when the battery does get low, for example at 15%, then it will switch automatically into low power saver. You also have the option to specifically set which percentage the battery has to go down to switch into that mode. So it is really cool that we really can customize this. We also have scheduled power saving. So if you want to save power during the nighttime, for example, you can also do that here. We have exiting power saving mode when charging. So if you enable that and then you plug in your phone to begin charging it, then it will exit out of power saving mode, which is pretty cool. Now by default, with the BLU G50 Mega, we do get the traditional Android 3-button navigation. Now I'm actually totally fine with that, and I know that many people that watch my content prefer this method of navigation, but if you do want to modify this, or if you want to actually switch over to gestures, then I'll show you how to do that right now. So you're going to pull down the shade, go to the settings, go to search, type in nav, and then go to system navigation. So first thing is we have two different options. We can either do gesture navigation or 3-button navigation. So first, let me show you how gesture looks. So just tap on that. It then switches things over to gesture navigation. Eventually, there we go. So you can see right here, we do have just a small navigation bar, and there's a little tutorial here that shows you how to use it as well. So for example, to go back, you have to swipe from the side, and then to go home, you swipe up, and then to go to your recent apps, you swipe up partially, and it'll be right there. You can also go over to the gear right here for some further customization as far as the sensitivity goes. I prefer to keep it at the default, but you can see that you can adjust it to either low or high, which is pretty good. Now by default, 3-button navigation is already enabled, but let's switch back to that right now. And there are some other ways to customize this. And you can see when you do search up nav, also under there are some specific navigation bar settings. So you can see right here, you can actually switch this. So if you want the back button to be on the right side, you can do that. You can also add an additional button, and that button just pulls down the shade right here. And then this final button does the same thing, but it switches the recent apps and back button to the other sides. So pretty cool. nice that we do get at least some modifications here. I'm going to go back to the default, and then when you enable this up in the corner, you actually get a little down arrow that can hide the bar if you want to. And then to see it again, you just swipe up, and it's right there. And this is the same anywhere throughout the operating system. So that's pretty cool, kind of a cool hybrid between having gesture navigation and then also having the 3-button layout. Now here's how to take a screenshot with the BLU G50 Mega. Essentially to do it, all you have to do is hold the volume down and power buttons at the same time for a second there, and then it'll take the screenshot. And then up top here we have some different options. We can go to edit. So then we get some editing options here, or you can go to cancel. And then you actually get a nice quick toggle here where you can either delete it, you can use it as a wallpaper, which this is already the wallpaper, so that doesn't do me any good. You can even print it directly from here as well. So for example, if you're reading an article and there's a certain section of it that you want to print out, then you can easily just take a screenshot, go to print, and assuming that you have a printer that is compatible with devices like this, then you can go ahead and do that. Or if you accidentally take a screenshot and it's in the shade like this, then you can just go to delete and it's now gone forever. Now with the camera app on the BLU G50 Mega, it is pretty limited compared to some higher end devices, but at the same time, we do get a decent amount of options here. So I do want to point out a couple of things specifically. First thing is that I mentioned this in my hands-on video, but the phone does not have portrait mode for the front camera, but it kind of does for the rear. They call it bokeh mode. And essentially to access that, you have to tap on this button up above. And then now you can see keep the object within 2 meters, and it essentially will blur out the background. So not quite as good as a traditional portrait mode, but at the same time it is the next best thing. Now it is also a little bit unfortunate that they don't really label any of this stuff up here. So if you're not familiar with what that icon represents, which even me, I wasn't really too familiar with it at the beginning, then you might not realize that that is the button to get blurred out backgrounds. Now you can also go to the settings here to access a few other things. You can set the volume key to take a photo if you want to. You can use it as the shutter button. Or if you want to still adjust the volume while being in the camera app, you can switch it over to just doing the volume. Or you can also have the volume rocker act as a zoom function as well. So let's try that. So that's kind of interesting. It's pretty cool. So there are some other settings here as well that really aren't too uncommon to find on any smartphone, but you can adjust the picture size. You can adjust whether or not you want the camera to make a sound when taking a photo. You can also restore to all the defaults if you happen to change something and you forget how to change it back. There's also an option for HDR, which probably does especially come in handy with a phone like this one, considering that the cameras aren't necessarily even that great to begin with. We can also go over to the More tab to access some other options. This one's kind of interesting. It's called Audio Note. Let's give that a try. So once you take a picture, you can actually create like a little voice memo to go along with it, which is kind of cool. Well, the microphone quality there is pretty bad, but it does work. And then one final feature I want to show you is located in the display settings. So pull down the shade, go to the settings here, go to display. Then from here, you can see you have some different options such as the brightness level. You can also enable adaptive brightness if you want to. Essentially, it's going to adjust the brightness of the screen based on the conditions around you. So if you're outside, it will automatically boost the brightness. But then if you're inside, it will lower the brightness. But then going over to advanced here, we have some different options such as dark theme. That's pretty awesome because it will enable any app that is compatible with it to have kind of a darker look here. So that's especially useful if maybe you're in a movie theater or somewhere where it's dark. This would come in handy. Or if you just prefer the way it looks, then that's also another reason to enable it. You can also go to screen timeout. Now I believe by default, it's set to 30 seconds, but essentially if you don't touch the screen on your phone, it will automatically turn off the display after a certain amount of time. Now, sometimes for many people out there, the default setting is a little bit too short. For me personally, I prefer 1 minute. But I definitely recommend trying some different ones to really find the perfect screen timeout setting. There's also some options here to adjust the fonts. So if you want your font sizes to be bigger, maybe you don't have quite the best eyesight out there, you can make the fonts very large here. And you can see a lot of the text is way bigger now. So there's definitely a lot of cool hidden features and various tips and tricks for the BLU G50 Mega. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video.